Hello, this is Robin Jones Music with an online Bouzouki lesson on how to play an Irish jig with a really cool title. It's called The Hag at the Churn. If you enjoyed this lesson, please like and subscribe. You can also consider checking out my website where you can become a member and access all of my content for a monthly subscription. With that being said, let's have a listen to the tune. I'm going to play it with my capo on the 5th fret, and this is what it sounds like. Okay, so you might have noticed there that the jig has two sections, an A section and a B section. In part 1 of this lesson, we're going to try and learn the A part of the jig, and in part 2, we're going to be looking at the B part. There's a link to part 2 in the description. Okay, so the first thing we need to think about when approaching this tune is the rhythm. So I mentioned it was a jig, and jigs have a particular rhythm. They're played in a 6/8 time signature. And basically how I think about jigs is they're like groups of 3, right? So hopefully you can hear that, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so to get that right emphasis, you've got to do a particular pick pattern known as the down, up, down, down, up, down pick pattern. It would sound like this, like on an open D string, you'd be like down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. I've actually done a video on jig picking technique on the Irish Bouzouki, and I would maybe recommend you checking that out if you haven't already. That goes over, a fair few exercises to get you really comfortable with that jig picking pattern. And for the rest of this lesson, I'm going to kind of take that for granted. So maybe go check that out if you haven't played a jig before, and that will stand you in good stead for some of the stuff we're going to be learning today. The next thing that's probably worth thinking about here is the scale that we're going to be using to play this tune. So this tune's quite interesting because it uses a mode called the Mixolydian mode. So we don't need to worry too much about the music theory behind the Mixolydian mode today. But the way I think about it is, I start with the major scale, right? So you might know that. If you don't know that, it's the thing that sounds like this. Okay, if you don't know that, you've got open D, 2nd fret D, 4th fret D, 5th fret D, open A, 2nd fret A, 4th fret A, and then either open top D or 5th fret A. They're the same note. 2 ways to play that. Okay, so that's D major scale. Worth getting comfortable with that if you don't know it already. Okay, so we're talking about the Mixolydian scale. Now, I think about the Mixolydian scale as essentially like a major scale with one difference, right? So the way you describe the Mixolydian scale is it's like a major scale with a flat 7th. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, each of the notes in this scale gets a number, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. When you reach 8, you've reached the octave, right? Which is the same as the note you started on, so it's like starting again. Now, if we're talking about a flat 7, what we need to do is find the 7th note of the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, usually we play 4th fret A. Now we're going to flatten that, so that means move it down 1 fret to 3rd fret A. Okay, so in the Mixolydian mode, instead of playing 4th fret A, which is a C sharp, we're going to play 3rd fret A, which is a C. So the Mixolydian scale ends up sounding like this. Okay, it's a cool scale. It's used in a lot of nice traditional tunes, and I think worth getting that under your fingers. Okay, so now that we've talked about the notes and the rhythm, I think we should get into the tune. Okay, so we're going to learn this first phrase. This phrase is going to be basically made up of 2 groups of 3. So it's a bar of 6/8. It sounds like this. Okay, so you've got 2 groups of 3 there. You got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So first group of 3, we've got 2 open A's, and then a 5th fret D with little finger, probably. And then the next group of 3 is going to be open A to 2 open Ds. Okay, put them together. You've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, watch out for the picking there because it's mainly open strings, so it's the picking really that matters here. Down, up, down, down, up, down. If you're feeling good on phrase 1, this is what phrase 2 sounds like. Again, it's 2 groups of 3. Okay, so the first group of 3 is the same as in the previous phrase. There's going to be 2 open A's and a 5th fret D string. Okay, next group of 3 sounds like this now. Okay, so that's open A, open top D, and 3rd fret A. That can be a bit tricky because you've got to do this cross picking thing. You've got to go A string, D string, back to the A string. Put those 2 groups of 3 together, you should have this. Down, up, down, down, up, down. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so if you're feeling good on phrase 1 and 2, we're going to have a look at phrase 3 now. And phrase 3 is nice because it's a copy of phrase 1. It's exactly the same. So it's this. So it's 2 open A's, 5th fret D, and then 1 open A and 2 open D's. Same as phrase 1. So if we put phrase 1, 2, and 3 together, we should have. Okay, hopefully you've got that up to there. Now we're going to have a look at phrase 4, which sounds like this. Okay, again, 2 groups of 3, actually identical. You do the same thing twice. So you start on 2nd fret D, you go 2nd, 4th, 5th, 2nd, 4th, 5th. Repeat that. Okay, so now you've got all 4 lines of your A section. If you were to play those 4 together, they would sound like this. Okay, and then we repeat the whole thing. Okay, so what you've got there would be 2 A's, and the next thing would be your B section. Okay, so rather than move on to the B section in this video, we'll get that in part 2, link in the description. I think for the rest of this lesson, we'll have a look at some ornamentation for that A section. So the first thing was a droning D string. Okay, so, and this happens in the very first phrase. So usually we do this, yeah? It's just A and D and low D string. But now what I want to do is this. Okay, right, so instead of 2 A's, I'm now going A, top D, and then low D. Okay, so basically what you're doing is you're replacing your up pick on the A with an up pick on the top D. Why do we do this? Because on the Bouzouki, open strings sound really nice and they add a nice sort of texture underneath everything. So if I get this open D, droning D, right at the start, it's going to like add a lot of background to what I'm about to play for this A section. So, and again, you can't do one here, one here, another one, and another one. Okay, so that's the first bit of ornamentation, droning top D string. Again, for the technique of sort of how to get really comfortable with droning to that top D, I'd have a look at that jig picking technique video. Next bit of ornamentation I wanted to talk about was a pull-off. Sounds like this. Do it again. Okay, so it's this sound of transitioning between 3rd fret A to open A. So usually we just go, yeah, we just go open top D, 3rd fret, open A. But now what we're going to do is we're going to pick that open A note while our finger is still on 3rd fret. We're going to go, and then after we've picked, we take the finger off, right? So it's like pick, pick, pick. So, you know, that after that 3rd pick, that's when you're going to flick. So pick, then flick. And yeah, you don't have to do that every time, but it's quite a nice thing to pepper in there. So. next bit of ornamentation I wanted to talk about adding into this A section was a bit of chord background to it. So I'm going to try and add like a bass note to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold a D chord, a standard D chord, 2nd fret G string. You probably know this one. And I'm going to try and include that as a backing to like basically this whole A section. So it sounds like this. Okay, I usually do that on the second time around, like to add a bit more kind of oomph to it. But yeah, the difficult thing there really is just basically holding your finger down whilst you do all this other stuff. So you know, you get that first finger to 2nd fret G and try and keep it there for all this. Try not to block any of the other strings with that first finger, right? It could be quite easy to block your top D with that, but I can't really do it. See what I mean? If the finger doesn't stand up properly, it'll block that top D string, so watch out for that. Okay, last bit of ornamentation that I just wanted to talk about for the A section was the variation phrase, which involves a triplet. And it sounds like this. Okay, so I'm not going to talk too much about like the actual technique of the triplet here, because I cover that in that jig picking video, which I'd recommend you have a look at. But we need to think about how it changes what we usually play, right? So usually here we go. That's our first phrase, but we're changing that now to this. Okay, so first group of 3 is unchanged. 1, 2, 3. But then what comes after it, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, triplet. Fitting in a little triplet there rather than going repeating that twice. We're going to replace the second one with a triplet. You can get that with the chord as well, that's cool. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. In part 2 of the lesson, we're going to be looking at the B section. B section is quite cool because it involves this reposition up the neck. You know? So that has got a bit of a technique to it in terms of like how and when to reposition. We'll be going over that in the second part of the lesson. Link is in the description. If you've enjoyed today's lesson, please like and subscribe, and maybe head over to my website and check out some of my other lessons. And as I said, yeah, you can also consider becoming a supporter of my page and get access to all my content for a monthly subscription. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and I will catch you next time.